I've always thought Goblin Chain Whirler was just a better card than Risk Factor to begin with, and they compete for the same slot. You could arguably put the Risk Factor in over the Killing Phoenix, but I don't love that. And the Killing Phoenix would not be good enough to be in the main deck in a lot of metagames, but I think it's actually really good versus these green-black decks that aren't running main deck Contempt, as it's a pretty reasonable blocker. Um, it survives one form of either Assassin's Trophy, Ravenous Choop, Vivian, Veraska. I mean, obviously they can like double up and kill it, or like if you block, they can use one of those spells. But like, long story short, it is a pretty decent attacker, a pretty good blocker. And I think it's really good versus the green decks in general, is why I want to try it. Also, if you'll notice in the sideboard, we are just thickingly full of lava coils and fatwa fires. And that's because I think green white is super well positioned at the moment, and like red white, just like all of these History of Benalia, Voice of Plenty, Lyra decks are very good. And I wanted to go into Overkill to try to beat those cards because like the Shocks and the Lightning Strikes and Wizards Lightnings and stuff aren't particularly great versus those cards. And then, in case we do get paired versus control decks, where our Killing Phoenixes and our Goblin Chain Whirlers and stuff are less good, we have the full 4 swaps of for Legion War Boss, two more experimental frenzies, and 2 Banefires, just to try to like kind of outcard advantage them or like grind them down early. But yeah, this is kind of a little bit different take. This is very different than like the last builds we played. We've been mostly playing burn heavy builds, and just wanted to try a Phoenix build, well, a Chain Whirler Phoenix build. This might be basically the first Chain Whirlers we've played. Might have played them in one other event, or they might have been in the sideboard. Honestly, the matches run together, and it's hard for me to remember what I've streamed, what I've watched, and what I've played off stream, or what I've read about. Um, but just in general, this deck feels decent to me, so we're gonna give it a try. We're gonna run 6 of these 4 drops. We might need a 23rd land in the deck. This might be a smidge greedy. This hand's a keep. We can kill like a Llanowar Elf or an aggressive creature or a Branch Walker onto into a Pyromancer, into a Chain Whirler. Kill a Steamkin. Your deck's probably not tuned especially good to beat red mirrors, but it is what it is. We're going to take our 1 point of damage here because I would rather kill a Steamkin, so we're just going to gamble on being able to kill a Steamkin post-combat. I don't really like playing a Pyromancer on our second turn, but there is enough red decks that don't run Chain Whirler that I'm pretty much just going to gamble with it. It's technically better if it resolves, but like, do I want to just throw it away under Chain Whirler turn? They have 3 cards. Having a land plus a Chain Whirler is probably not the most likely thing. If they just throw a burn spell at this, like, we don't care at all. Obviously. Don't think Fanatical Firebrand's super well positioned here. But it's better than what they could have did, so. Yes, we're running Fanatical Firebrands as well. It's a card I considered cutting, though. I just don't think this card's very good. I don't think this card's very good either. Yes, I'm playing 8 cards that I don't think are very good. And we drew 4 of them. Miss our land drop, which sucks. And they hit a chain whirler. Pretty sure they didn't have it before that, so it's kind of like unfortunate for us. As we can't play our spells again. Not sure how we're so far behind when they've mulliganed and played nothing. But they have another chain whirler in their hand, so we just lose this game. Can't win it. It's kind of a tilt. I've had a lot of matches like this lately. So I think this card's pretty bad here. I definitely want all of these. I don't think I care about the fight with fire. I believe maybe I want the experimental frenzies, because like you can just win the game with one frenzy, but fanatical firebrands might not be good either. A lot of 4-drops if we do this. Nah. Compromise. Just try 3 of each. I don't actually think fanatical firebrand's good either. Maybe we're supposed to just be super slow. Yeah, definitely should have a 23rd land deck now that we sideboard for the mirror. The mirror never crossed my mind at all when I was putting the 75 together. 1 land hand, we can't keep even though we have infinite removal. Or can we keep? No, we just can't keep. Alright, this hand's better. Though it's not good. I think I'm just going to play this and let him use a removal spell. I don't really care if it dies. I'd rather keep the Chain Whirler. To like kill something. That's kind of interesting. It just didn't have anything. Hmm. So I play this. I think it's better overall. Let's just play double spell next turn. So they still have 6 cards in their hand. I feel like they outcarded us both games. Which is honestly kind of impressive. I'm going to go ahead and play this Chain Whirler, not because it's particularly good here or anything, but because if we draw Experimental Frenzy next turn, we're going to want it. Or we're going to want to have played all of our spells. Well, they still have 6 cards in their hand. We effectively have none. Weird. Assume they're going to have removal for this and like possibly a Chain Whirler or something for the following turn. And if they do, we're going to have to hit something. They still have 3 cards. Like we're really far ahead on board, but being ahead on board does nothing if they have another Chain Whirler. least it wasn't a chain whirler. So Fiery Cannonade is the only card we have to worry about now. I don't think it's a good enough card to actually sideboard in. We're not even running them, but in general, I don't think it's a good enough card to sideboard in. That card's good. Just gonna attack with all of the 4/4 or all of the 2/2s now. They could go down to 1 here. You pump this one, and then you pump this one, and then we play a Phoenix post combat. If they have a removal spell, they go to 1. But if they have a removal spell and then have no cards in their hand at 1 life, I don't know how they beat the board. Alright, well, they just didn't have anything. That worked out well. I think we're just going to run it back. I'm going to really rely on these Phoenixes. Or 4-drops in general. I apologize if my throat's a little weird. It's kind of sore. Hey, sweet Matt, what's up? This hand's very reasonable. We're going to want to draw a bunch of lands, but we have the spells that we want. Runaway Steam Pins are always so weird. Because you never want to play them on 2 because of Chain Whirler. Alright, well, we'll play it if our opponent's casting nothing. If they happen to have a shock, they have a shock. What was in it? I've gotten paired versus quite a few. With buglers, that's kind of cool. I'm saving the Lava Coil specifically because it's better versus Phoenix. And we're just jamming Phoenix into Phoenix over the next couple turns. If he has like a Lava Coil for this, we might not jam the second, but we probably still will. Yeah, we still will. I'm fine with letting my life go down a little bit more. If they have a second lava coil, I'm going to feel so daggered. One of the only ways I feel like we could have lost this game is both them have 2 lava coils and us miss lands. And that happened. They had 2 lava coils and we missed 2 lands. I assume they have a removal spell for that. Not sure I like Queen Veraska still, but they're not playing lands, which means they keep drawing removal. We'll keep making them spend their removal. That wasn't removal. Yeah, let's play 4-drop. Could have arguably played the land in our hand first, but they're attacking. That's scary. We could hit another Lavamancer, so we're certainly going to do this. I think it is a good deck right now. We're at 9. I'm just going to hit them in the head, I think. Kind of want to use it to try to draw a land next turn, but also don't want to leave myself to a bad position if they have risk factor. Alright, well, beat the mirror. He stumbled game 3. Or game, yeah, it says game 3. Seemed like he had a reasonable draw the other games. He had a reasonable draw that game for a mulligan, too, as soon as he hit his lands. Hey, Chad. The only problem with like putting that third color in is how bad the lands are. And do you really want to put a Llanowar in a deck that's going to have basic planes? That seems odd. Knight of Autumn's really good though. Big fan of Knight of Autumn. Bugler's really good too in a deck like that. It literally gets back everything but like Golgari. Can I increase deck size? I don't know what you're asking. I'm sorry. You can type exclamation mark deck list and maybe that's what you mean? If you're wanting to see a list? So we're on to draw with 5 lands. I think we'll keep it, but like this is very likely actually supposed to be a mulligan. If I was playing 23 lands, I would 100% mulligan, but as everybody knows, I'm a little terrified about mana. Like, I'm actually gun shy about it. I've been screwed by it so much on Magic Online. But no, we just draw 6 lands, so once they cast History, this game's over. Nah. Wizard's Lightnings aren't good in this match, so it doesn't really get better, so we remove a creature and still do 3 damage. But this game is over. The only way you can win this game now is if we draw like multiple Rekilling Phoenixes and they go unanswered and our opponent doesn't have a Lyra. Should neither of those things seem likely? Hey, there's Lyra. Next game. So this is like the one deck in the format that basically makes the red decks unplayable, which we stated beforehand. which is why we have these 7 cards in the deck. But we have to leave some number of burn spells. But like, none of our attackers ever really do anything. So just adding these in doesn't seem particularly useful, though all of these seem pretty bad here as well. Just like these cards just don't really do a lot. Nah, Frenzy wouldn't have been an out. I think if he'd had any of those cards that we talked about, we wouldn't have won with Frenzy. To win with Frenzy there would require such a ridiculous amount of luck that I can't even describe it. Like, Rekindling Phoenix is our best card in this match by a lot. Hopefully they just have the first strike thing here or like an Adonto. That is not the first strike thing or an Adonto. That's literal or worst case. And it shuts us down completely. It just wouldn't have been enough. It would have been too slow to matter. And boys, we dead. Have to have an answer to this. I just don't. I don't actually think it's a particularly good card. We had 5 mana. Just it wasn't gonna do much. I don't think. They shocked. Oh, they got a conclave too. Rip. All right, so we're dead this game as well. We need to draw that lightning strike. Well, we did draw the lightning strike, so I guess we have that going for us. The only way we can attack with everything this turn. Fortunately, this attack's still just not good enough. Like, we still have to draw probably another Rekindling Phoenix to win. And they got the life linkers. Or Rekindling Phoenix might not even be good enough now. Especially since I'm forced to attack with this goblin, they just get to gain 4 life. Yep, our spell giving them 4 life a turn is not what we need. This match just is not winnable the way our deck's designed. We'd have to put back fiery conclaves and stuff and try to play a more controlling route for this to be winnable. Let's throw everything under the bus. None of them do anything. And we're dead. As stated, not a winnable match. But we knew that going in. We really are just trying to beat black-green decks and control decks with this list. Which is all Moto's been. Though I do think green-white's probably correct for this weekend if I was building a deck. What in the world's this? Oh. I wonder if it's okay to hold that to make my things bigger. No removal spells, so this is bad. I'm just going to cast it and attack. Oh, it's a Deafening Clarion deck. We're probably dead. Doing this in improper order, but YOLO. It's not completely GG. If they turn 3 Clarion, we can untap and turn 4 Phoenix. And Phoenixes sometimes can win these games. But it would be very bad, of course. We would struggle if that happened. Tapping something in their main phase, which means they have it. I got a feeling that they drew it because if they didn't draw it, why would they ever use the Lightning Strike? Please no Silhouette. I think it's unlikely that they have Silhouette, though. Like, they're obviously showing that they're a pretty heavy red deck. I have a Lightning Strike now to play around the Silhouette, though I probably wouldn't do it. That's probably bad for us. Alright, it's Frenzy time. I wouldn't feel in such bad shape right now if our opponent didn't have 6 more spells in their hand. Because their spells are on average better than our spells. But we catch up where we have less lands than them. It's weird. I guess they have a settled wreckage now. Oh, well, they don't have a settled wreckage now. That's weird. Alright, so sideboard. Bringing in these and all of these. Taking out a lot of our slower cards that don't feel like they do a whole lot. So just trying to be as aggressive as possible while still having late game. Still after killing Phoenixes. Like, it's kind of hard for them to deal with. Though, arguably, these could be an on the draw card or on the play card, while Burn Spell might be better on the draw. Because just like casting a bunch of turn 4 Phoenixes probably doesn't do a lot versus them. If we don't draw the early pressure too. Example of this hand. We've not drawn any early pressure. Just slamming Phoenixes on 4 probably doesn't win here, but you can't mulligan this, I don't think. Not when we have an answer to Lyra and a Steamkin. We just have to hope that we get a little lucky. Don't care if they counterspell it. We're not going to win by just slamming another Steamkin into a removal, so... They really bring in Disdainful Stroke? Like, this is a card I'd be sideboarding out if I had Risk Factors in my 75. So it's interesting to me that they'd bring in such a narrow counterspell. Like, I know it gets Experimental Frenzy, and I know they saw Phoenix, but, like, I would just assume they would have expected me to sideboard Phoenix out. Because, like, Phoenix is very bad in this match. You notice that we sideboarded out the Goblin Chain Whirler, and they're very similar cards, well, at least in terms of the effect on the game. Yep, I think Risk Factor's a bad card. I stand by my words. I think it's only good versus a control decks, and I don't think we need it to beat control decks. I'm a big proponent of if I think I have a favorable match, I don't want a random card to make it a little more favorable. I want a card that literally changes the matchup one way or the other. I can attack, but I think there's a good chance that they just have a removal. So I'm just going to go ahead and get the mana. This makes them both bigger than the pirate thing. We lose 1 point of damage like this, but we play around removal spells. So don't think it's great versus those other decks. I think those other decks can just beat you by attacking beforehand. Like versus white-green versus green-black versus Still Leaf Stompy. I don't think you get far enough ahead of them to want to be throwing random, not affect the board, deal 4 damage spells. I think you can just play like more of this type of card and make those matches a lot easier, like just a lot easier. The only time I really want them at all is versus the blue decks, and I only want them because they're an instant. If they were a sorcery, I wouldn't play them versus blue decks either. Stumpy is still a decent deck. It's still 5-0s. Like, Stumpy is one of the ways to beat green-black. Like, Still Leaf Stumpy's favored versus green-black, for example. The reason people quit playing Stompy was because it couldn't beat green-white. But green-white is getting less popular. I don't think they're good versus green-black. I don't want a card in my deck that's good, or that I think is bad versus green-black. Light on lands, but our card quality is good. Everything? Nothing? I actually think Niv Mizzet's underplayed. Kevin and Brad are playing a Niv Mizzet deck tonight, and I actually think it's really good. Yeah, but they can't really chump they can't really chump Still Leaf Stompy or Still Leaf Champion. Their decks aren't big, or cards aren't big enough. Don't care if he counterspells this. If he counterspells this, it gives us a better chance of resolving Phoenix. JK, we were never resolving Phoenix anyway. There's an argument that I could have kept both of those to play around Tempest Gen, but I figure if we hit McKinley Phoenix, we don't have to care about the Tempest Gen. Actually, I think Niv is really good. I know a lot of people think I'm trolling when I say that, but I think the card is very good. Don't like exclusionary mages in these main decks. Just don't think they do enough in general. They get this in before they have a chance to scatter and or syncopate it. They don't play. Most of them don't play Contempt's main anymore. If they start adding Contempts and stuff back to their main, then I'll agree with you. Vraska's 6 mana. Like, if your deck's working particularly well, I don't know if 6 mana's a thing. Our opponent's playing one of our favorite decks. Another deck that I specifically think risk factor's horrible against. I'm going to bring in all of our random removal spells and like get rid of like some of these bad things that don't really attack particularly well here. Kind of want to get rid of the experimental frenzies as well. I just don't think this is a match for experimental frenzy. Just want a million things that kills their creatures. 4 mana Vraska is not good. Again, I stand by my statement. I've tested it a lot, and it just doesn't do anything. Some of them play more than one. I agree, you're going to see that it's played, but like, I'm just not worried about losing to bad cards, or cards that I deem bad. Just because I deem a card's bad, by the way, doesn't mean that it is bad. I'm obviously can be very wrong. I'm just going by my particular results in my own testing. Like, it's just not been good in testing for me. Like, I've given it plenty of tries. Never really been excited about it. Our opponent's complaining, but like, we have a 1-2 in play. I think he's got time. I don't think it's bad, right? Like I just called it bad, but I like to speak hyperbolic. Like, I think the decks or the cards okay. I just don't think it's good. I don't do well with the green-black decks, though. Like, I can't figure out the green-black mirror. And until I figure out the green-black mirror, I don't want to play the deck at all. Like, the only thing I figured out via the mirror is that, like, cards like Eldest Reborn are great in the mirror, for example. But I think they're so bad versus so many other decks that, like, it makes me not want to play them. Maybe I get paired versus enough mirrors that it warrants it. I'm not sure. Like, I did get paired versus 3 mirrors yesterday, and all 3 of them had like Eldest Reborn loops and or Carnage Tyrants in the main deck, and it felt like we couldn't play because of it. Yeah, that card's pretty good in the mirror as well. I mean, Ginger was trying the scriptures, but I'm still not sold on scriptures. I think it's one of those cards that's like pretty good when you're even or ahead, but like never lets you win when you're behind. But I respect Ginger, and if he's trying it, it's like maybe something I should try. I've played it in formats past. They have a bunch of cards in their hand, so basically we're relying on this Lavamancer to be our hero. Pretty sure I'm just ignoring that. Now I know I'm ignoring it. That Relic Seeker's pretty rough. Can't decide whether I want to care about this. I think I do. It's a good chance I should have just lava coiled it. And saved my Wizard's Lightnings. I get you. Um, Overkill? Question mark. No, we've been spell pierced. Thought it was better just to go for it though, because I didn't want them to be able to play like dive down and counterspell on the following turn. I wanted to get a counterspell out of their hand. I just kind of assumed they'd have counterspells, Murph. I thought they would have negates or something. Alright, well, we've cashed. Just thought they'd have negates or something. We have 2 Banefires in the sideboard, but I didn't side them in that match. I feel like that match is all about stopping them from getting Curious Obsessions or Tempest Gens on the board. So I brought in these 7 removal spells to like try to, and left all of our other removal spells in to try to fight that. Like I just don't think the match is about trying to kill them with a Banefire. Also, don't think it's about trying to kill them with Fight with Fire. I literally brought Fight with Fire in for the deal 3 damage, kill target creature with Curious Obsession and or Tempest Gen. It just so happened the way that game played out that I got to tap 9 mana and throw it at them. But like I was playing it as a 3 mana kill something with higher than 3 power. Or sorry, higher than 3 toughness. Like I think the mono blue deck's like really, really good if it gets on the ground. But I think one of the ways to beat them is like be under them, like cast a couple of creatures and just try to remove everything they do. And it's like really difficult to do. Like I'm not saying it's the best deck in the format, but the mono blue deck and the mono blue deck that doesn't play Tempest Gem but like splashes Watery Graves, Drowned Catacombs, and some swamps for like Kitesail Freebooter and Thief of Sanity. Like, I'm not saying either of those decks are the best decks in the format, but I'm saying so far they've been my favorite non-Arclight Phoenix decks. Alright, we already have one of those in our hands, so we'll go ahead and put that on the bottom. Yeah, I cut Frenzy, though I was hesitant to cut Frenzy. I don't know if I was right to, but I did. Oh, this Fanatical Firebrand was probably just wrong. I was probably supposed to actually cast a Firebrand there. In my mind, I was still thinking this is a format with Glint Sleeve Cipher, and I wanted to hide it. But that was probably just wrong. Ooh. Alright. We don't have the type of draw that beats Esper. As you notice, we have multiple cards we're going to be sideboarding out in this match. Already in our hand. So I highly expect to lose this game, and I have no idea why I thought I had 4 mana. Like, it's only even turn 3, but for some reason I thought I had 4 mana. Not only do I not have 4 mana, it's turn 3 and I couldn't have had 4 mana. Whoopsie. But generally, when you draw 3+ cards you plan on sideboarding out, you're not going to do well, especially versus the deck that can actually hard answer your Rekindling Phoenixes. And Rekindling Phoenix was hard answered. They play. I do not like random colorless land. Alright, we'll go ahead and scoop to Teferi. We have no chance to beat it. Alright, so I want my Banefires, I want the Frenzies, I want all of the Legion War bosses. I'm actually unsure about the Fight with Fires. Some of these decks play Vona and or Lyra, and then like other versions of the deck don't. I think maybe I just want to hedge and play them. But I'm not sure. Cards that I know I don't want, though, are these 8. And then Lightning Strikes and Fight with Fires are the things that I'm worried about. I think I'm going to bring them in. I think I would rather just hedge against those cards instead. Chain Roller is not particularly good in this match either. But I think it's better than a burn spell versus this type of deck. And I don't want to overload with these effects that do nothing. We kind of want to draw one a match and one a match only. Alright, well this hand's pretty terrible, but it's better than a random 6, I think. Alright, well we got paired versus multiple decks tonight that Risk Factor would have been good versus. He get absolutely wrecked when he has Fungal Infection. Don't get wrecked too bad, I mean we have the Chain Whirler, but... Ooh, lucky us. Actually get to cast a Chain Whirler. Ritual Smoot's a problem card. Because like now it makes me not know whether I'm supposed to cast a Pyromancer into Steamkin or not. They're dumping a cast down, so they're either A, mana screwed, or B, they have the answer. I'm not sure which. I've played 2 versions of them so far. I played Autumn Lily's version, which seemed like the better version that I've played. But it seems weakish versus Dimir to me. And then I played the PPTQ winning build, which seemed very good versus Dimir, but a little bit weaker versus the format as a whole. I've not got paired versus Grixis with either of those decks. I've only got paired versus Grixis once or twice, maybe 3 times this entire season. Like, I've just not been getting paired versus that. Hopefully they don't have a second Smoot. If they have a second Smoot, we're in a problematic territory. But I've just not... I actually think Grixis is underplayed. I think it's reasonable. I've just not got paired versus any, so I can't really comment on whether it's good or bad or in between. No second Smoot, please. That's the second Smoot. No land, so I guess we have that going for us. Glad we saved this Firebrand now. There's no other Lightning Strikes in our deck, so if they have a Vraska's Contempt, that's pretty good. Mission Briefing, that's kind of odd. A third Smoot. Alright, well, that's a problem. Makes things a lot harder then. They dumped Devona. They still have 6 cards, no lands. I guess we're just going to keep playing this stuff. Maybe I'm supposed to wait here till I get another land to play around them being able to kill it with a Contempt. Suit's really good versus some decks. They can flip that. Like, this game's over, but it is the last game of round 5, so it's like I can't really concede it. Well, she said in the article, Jadine said in the article it's actually good versus Namir. So, like, I'm saying to me it didn't seem good versus Namir, but that could entirely be play skill related. Like, Autumn and Jadine are much better Magic players than I am, so, like, maybe the deck's not, maybe it's not that it's bad, maybe it's that I'm bad. Alright, well, I just can't beat this card. I'll go ahead and cast my lightning strike here and hope that we can resolve something, anything. What's our one chance to win right now? Just draw 4 lands and them not have a counterspell? Seems like our only chance of beating this card. Like, maybe drawing 4 lands and a counterspell is enough, and them not having a counterspell is enough. If they show us a counterspell off the Azcanta, we can just pick up our cards. I guess we could, drawing a land and a Banefire is not even enough, because they're going to be gaining 1 life per turn, so we don't have enough time to do that. I guess we could draw 1 land, then back-to-back Banefires. Like, that's still an opportunity. So just go ahead and cast it. It's like hard to get wide versus decks that run Finality on them, though. For me, it's been the deck that wins is just who draws more Planeswalkers, but... And I don't typically draw Planeswalkers. My opponents just, like... cast... Eldest Reborn and crush me, or, like, draw Carnage Tyrant and I don't have enough to block it. Ever, because of Finality. And when you're supposed to sideboard out Playcrafters, I think. Yeah, we already know that they have 1 counter spell, so I just don't see how we ever win even with the Fight with Fire. Can draw Banefire, but even if we draw Banefire, they're going to gain, they're going to make another token and gain another life, so like Banefire is not even enough. Pretty sure we can concede this game. Maybe there's a world we can draw like a Chain Whirler into some stuff, but now they have double white mana, so I don't even think that would work. Like, they're choosing not to draw with these, if that lets you know how far behind we are. We did sideboard in 11 cards and draw 0. No, that's a lie. We drew 2. Turns out we were probably right to sideboard them in, though they don't matter. Because he did have Devona. Alright, well, anyway, let's go open our pity chest. That's unfortunate. I thought we were going to get there that time. Sealed product. Pity chest, hurrah. Be worth like $4 or $5 in real life. It's worth nothing on Moto. Now we've been losing a lot lately. Like, we're down quite a bit. But anyway, here's the deck we played tonight. If you're going to get paired versus a ton of control decks, I suggest finding some room for risk factor in the sideboard. But other than that, I like the deck. We got paired versus no green black decks, which is really what I wanted to test this versus, which is unfortunate since like I think we've got paired versus before tonight something like 9 out of our last 15 matches, or 8 out of our last 15 matches were green black. So I specifically wanted to try this versus green black, and we didn't get a chance to. And we also just got mauled by green white. The only thing that I can even think of to try to beat the green white decks are Fiery Cannonade. And as long as the green white decks aren't mildly popular, I'm not sure that's worth it. But anyway, I'm going to hop off here. And I'm going to host Kevin and Brad. I really like listening to them argue/discuss Magic. It entertains me. And I think they're pretty good, and I think the deck that they're playing is both good and fun, and it's got Niv Miz in it for Lars. Anyway, take care everybody, and thanks for coming by. Yeah, take care everyone.